just going to try going live again, because why not? I bet there's just a delay with that one of it. That's my guess. You're saying we should just record one?
Yeah. And no cutting, just record it straight as if it were live and then
Yep.
post that.
And I think we're back. Apple? It says say Apple.
I just asked Eric.
I think there's a delay, but apple pie? Ike says there's a 36-second delay.
He would totally nerd out and figure out what the delay is. And that's what I love about you, Ike.
Well, I'm gonna end up re-recording this anyways to post as an actual video, but like I said, I figured it'd be good to try. So I'm kind of I wish it didn't redo the feed every time, like, and change the link, but it is what it is. So let's see. We're just going to test it and share it with a couple people because it really doesn't matter. I wish I could have Natalie watch the stream with the sound off and scan chat for questions. That's what 36 seconds ago Ike said.
Thank you, 36 seconds ago, Ike. Is this the 4 people watching one?
Here, do you want me to message you the link?
Nope, got it.
You sure?
Yep. While you talk. Thanks, Ike.
I wish I could bring you guys on live with me. I guess I'll have to try this through Facebook later. But yeah, and the other interesting thing was, so with this feed is the GoPro changed it to wide view, but I'm not sure why. Oh, tell Megan hello.
I'm supposed to be just
Okay.
saying that for you. That's literally the whole point of me being here. Hi, Megan.
Okay, well, what else is there to cover? I mean, that was pretty much it, wasn't it?
It was. And what I said to Ryan, probably about a week ago, is that I actually said it to his parents too. For anyone who's followed the story since the first attempt to do Moto America, you know, the first time, like, okay, everything happens for a reason. That was kind of my mentality. The second time, I was like, this is dumb. Clearly this didn't happen for a reason. And now the stuff that happened this year, and I keep coming back to, if the universe doesn't want him to race for whatever reason, aside from injuring him to the point where he can never race, they need to give a better sign that's a little bit cheaper, because it gets expensive.
Yeah, well, it's probably been more mentally taxing than I realized, but it is what it is. Like I said, it could be worse. Because it has been worse. I'm just going to have shirts that say that. It could be worse.
On my back. ... Ask me how I know.
Ask me how I
know. And then grind with your like new logo.
Well, or I just work the R in one of the words, like it could be worse, and they just have the R there.
There you go. Now we're thinking.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Yeah, because it definitely has been. Yeah, hopefully we'll get the bike back. Well, and for those that are, because as far as I know, it's just like Eric and Ike, but definitely should plan some riding in the, I'm gonna say preseason, like February, March, because I should have a bike to ride by then. Wink.
Ike would not like. Ike is now beginning to wonder if there is a motorcycle god of mischief.
That motorcycle god of mischief should be punched in the throat if there is. It's good grief.
Don't anger the gods.
Well, I remember at the end of last year, Joe said something kind of funny. He's like, "You must have like pissed in someone's cereal in a former life. Like, he's like, you must have pissed in God's cereal in another life or something, because this just doesn't make sense. It's not fair." So that just made me laugh, even though I was upset at that time. That was a funny way to put it.
Oh, his name is Gasket, apparently.
Who's this?
That's what Eric said. His name is Gasket.
Oh, that's the god's name of mischief?
Apparently.
That makes so much more sense. Give me back that Gerloff shirt. I mean, it does kind of fit Gasket, the god of mischief. You might need a shirt that says that.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Of motorcycle mischief.
Of motorcycle mischief.
Yes.
Gasket, the god of motorcycle mischief. All right. Eric might be onto something.
All right, here we go. We have a question. Ryan, do you feel... This is from Ike. Ryan, do you feel like with all that has happened is affecting your thinking? Come on. Grammatically, please. Anyways. Sorry.
You aren't doing a good job at reading this. Do you want me to read it?
It's not written very well. Ryan, do you feel like with all that has happened, it's affecting you thinking that that it will happen when things are going well, like waiting for something to happen mechanically, like shell-shocked?
I would say that's happened initially, like the July round, the first like few practice sessions. I remember saying if I made it through Friday, then I think things will be good. So I think initially, but I'm not. So I guess yes. And especially after everything happened, especially after what happened in September, because September I assumed everything was good. Like the clutch basket thing was fixed. And I made it through the first session or two fine, and then I didn't. So, yeah, I would say that's fair. Like, kind of hopping on. But it's not, because I had that happen when I was on the SV last year. I remember during Czars, even when the first motor blew up on that Monday, I remember rolling out that session around the track being like, and I'm listening for everything, like, that didn't quite sound right. What was that? Did that feel normal? Was that normal? But with the R6, that hasn't happened. It started happening, like I said, later on this season, but it went away pretty quickly. But I can say initially that I definitely will have that thought. But again, it matters, and it also doesn't matter, because I freaking over prepared and stuff still happens. So I'm working on over preparing with the R6 now too, and having extra spares and making sure I'm going through everything with a fine tooth comb, just like I did with the R6 in the off season. You know, Joe and everybody at Turn One, like they tore the bike down to the frame. There's no reason it should have happened or anything should have happened, but here we are. So short of me, winning the Powerball and then just buying like, I would say 2 new R6s, but since it's me, I'm gonna say like 4 new R6s.
And a tank.
Huh?
And a tank.
And a tank. 4 new R6s. Then I would think everything's gonna be fine. But even then, with the way my luck's been, would I still be like, well, could something still happen? But at that point, if I have 4 of them, I've got so many backups to burn through.
Great. Eric claims there's no such thing as over preparing.
I agree with you, but you would think over preparing would mean things are going to be good. And as I've told a lot of you, the thing that's the most annoying and was most frustrating last year, and then some going into this year, is I'm seeing people that are woefully unprepared and their bikes are barely cobbled together, and they were even doing Moto America, and I can't even get through 2 club weekends of racing, which is why I've partly, I guess we'll say, swallowed my pride to the point where, I feel like I should give myself a chance to get some sponsorship and feel like I'm deserving of that, and with the work I put in, that it's something that I can achieve and get some support. Even though, again, it's weird for me to ask, but I feel like I'm at the point where, 1, I need it, and 2, I need to give myself a chance that I deserve it and can work for it. Because, I mean, if the last 3 years haven't proven that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to work for whatever I need to do to accomplish my goal, then I don't know what it is. Which, that's why, like I told you, if I can, any potential sponsor, if I can just meet with them and talk with them and explain that to them, I think it would do a lot for me. And I'm not saying no one else works hard and they can't do it, but everyone always says, no one works harder than me, I'm hardworking, I'm dedicated, but I can say that, and at least in my case, I can give, here's multiple years of examples of me doing that.
And to answer the question, it was not the same mechanic between the SVs and the R6.
No, the SVs actually were technically multiple people, because my backup motor was built by someone else, and the backup motor I had last year was built by someone else. So it was 3 different builders. We pinpointed that it was probably the tune that was done on them that was incorrect. And then this year, a couple of things that happened, like the clutch basket thing, there's not really a way you're gonna know that's going bad until it just goes. And Joe even told me, like, the outer hub, the basket, was in better condition than his and Blake's, and they replaced theirs. Mine still looked like it was in good condition, like it wasn't really worn.
Right.
With the teeth, so why you don't need to replace it if everything's still good. Like, I mean, moving forward, I told him if he's questioning anything like that, and even if it's small, to just run it by me first, because chances are I'm probably going to say you should probably just replace it because of how my luck has been. But like I said, short of getting a brand new bike that's built with 0 miles on it, I don't really know what else I can do preemptively to make sure I'm in a good place. Because even then, kind of like Ike said, I'm still initially, for the first couple times I'm on that bike, I'm still going to be wondering, like, is everything good? What's so funny?
New question from Ike, and I'm supposed to cut him some slack, apparently. But anyways, what have you found to be the 3 biggest differences between racing lightweight and middleweight?
Biggest differences? So the funny thing is, everyone has said, and everybody says this, if you want to get quicker on like a bigger bike, or if you start out on a leader bike or middleweight bike, start out on a small bike to learn corner speed. And I 100% agree with that. I guess you could say like I'm a perfect example of that because look what I was able to start doing this year. But you have to ride the bike differently. Like the way I'm entering corners and exiting is way different in my line selections, way different on the R6 than on the SV. But the thing is, I know what corner speed feels like having ridden the SV. So I know what that feels like. The way I get to it is differently. So it's a much more point and shoot versus the SV where you're just trying to keep that roll speed. It's like, for instance, when I first get on the R6 and I was trying my normal lines around Blackhawk, for instance, at 6 silo or 6A, more of a sweeping line. If I did that on the R6, I kept running wide. Now, once I kind of drove the bike in and fired it out and did more, instead of like an arc line, more of a angular line, then it worked. So again, how I'm getting through it is different, but I know what that feeling is leaned over of having that corner speed. So
how to maintain that.
How to maintain and how to get into that corner speed and not have it feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going way too fast through this corner. You said the 3 biggest things?
You said 3, so that's 1.
The other thing is braking. I can brake a whole heck of a lot harder than I could in the SV because the SV was sprung about as light as you could get. Which again, I know that especially for lightweights, like you want to have the bike in the end, and I think this applies to most bikes personally, like you want to have the bike sprung as lightly as possible, but still be supported because you want to have that feel with the track. But you can brake a lot harder on the R6 because the way the brakes are set up, the braking system's a lot different. And then just letting the bike be loose. And by that I mean like with the power band on the R6, depending on how you come out of a corner and where you come out, the front's gonna get loose, it's gonna get light, the front's gonna pick up. As you know, like SVs don't really wheelie all that much, but the R6 does in comparison. And I experienced that first even when we were at Barber, like coming out of the Charlotte's Web, which I know it wouldn't do that on the SV. Part of that is on the SV, again, you're trying to keep that roll speed, so you're keeping that speed maintained throughout and trying to brake as low as possible, whereas on the R6 you're trying to fire it in and fire it out. But even some middleweight bikes, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, how I said, to get to those lines and get to those corners, it's different. I will say that's not always the case depending on how the bike's set up, but on the R6 I'll say it is. And the reason I say that is because when I rode Eric's bike on his Daytona, I realized you have to ride that bike, at least for me, you have to ride that like the SV, because the R6, and this could apply to all the middleweights for the most part, I don't know, but the R6, the harder you ride that bike, the more you'll get out of it. The SV, you cannot, as you know, like you can only reach a certain point where you try to ride it hard, it's gonna bite you. And Eric's Daytona felt the same way. Although, see, now that I'm thinking about that, I don't know if that Steve's bike was that way. But again, Steve's bike and Eric's bike are set up differently.
Right.
But yeah, I would say how you have to get into corners and out is different, the braking's different, and then just how loose the bike is different. And I think that's what sets a lot of it apart from, especially like track day guys, and even myself, like just getting used, like the bike, it's not always going to be perfect. It's not going to be just smooth in and smooth out. Like watch Moto America, watch MotoGP, the bike's freaking loose everywhere. But then when I'm in a race or I'm just out on track on the R6, like fine, the bike's just gonna move around. Big deal. It's gonna wallow and do stuff on the way in. It's gonna do that on the way out. Whatever. If that's what it's gonna do. It's what it's gonna do. I don't care. And it's the biggest thing I noticed this year that I think that I'm glad I did to make the transition to middleweight is it proved to me that when I got on the R6, versus years past with the SV, up until I'd say the last year or two in the SV, if someone said, hey, you need to do this differently, it would take me a while to process it and understand how to do it. Whereas this year, when I got in the R6, if Joe or someone was like,
Do this.
all right, do this in this corner, I just started doing it. It was weird. Like, would you agree? Like,
yep, your mentality is very different with this bike.
like I didn't even think about it. I would just, Joe was like, here, you need to do this. Okay. And then I clicked off the routines the first week, and then I don't remember, Joe didn't really say much to me the July weekend. I don't remember going over and talking to him much.
I don't remember.
I know there's a couple things he said I had to do here and there in the corners, and again, it was weird. I just like shut my brain off, and it was just very automatic, where it's like, oh, I need to do this in this corner? Okay, I'll just do that. I need to do this? Okay, I'll just do that. The bike's gonna do this, you just gotta get used to doing that here. Okay. And that's just the way it was. And the hardest thing that I was getting a lot better at in the July round, which everyone can attest to, is like my starts, because my starts were garbage in June. but you can't. July they were night and day better.
It's funny because on the SV, your
my starts
were
really
like fantastic.
Right, but in comparison, I feel like I'm like bringing the bikes like in a bad way on the starts, because I'm not used to it. But I'm figuring out how to just feed it and keep feeding it out. Whereas on the SV, you can be a bit more lazy with your starts on the throttle,
right.
And you can't do that on the R6. But I like that. What?
Are you ready for a new question?
Sure.
Elliot would like to know, what are your...
Kawasaki suck. What?
What are your thoughts on riding in the rain, yay or nay? Which, given the track...
Is he saying that like...
I don't know. It says, what are your thoughts on riding in the rain, yay or nay?
I mean, I love riding in the rain. I just haven't gotten to do it on the R6 much. Like in the first weekend in June, I didn't do it because that was my first weekend racing on the bike. And I knew, as far as getting used to how the bike feels and everything, it wasn't going to give me a lot. So that's why I just did the 2 races on Saturday. But riding in the rain is great because it slows everything down. You have to be smooth. You can still brake pretty hard, but you just have to soften things up on the bike. I mean, when I took your 400 out in the rain, it felt like I was on a toy, like it was a blast. Like I had a lot of feel with it because it's sprung so soft because it's stock suspension. I know that because I felt the front tuck on me a little bit going into the carousel when I was on it, so that was fun. Yeah, I think riding in the rain is fine. If you really want to see what riding in the rain is like at full tilt, I'll just take your ZX6 out on its street tires in the rain. Or you know what? I'll just let everyone take it out who wants to. I'll just say, hey, here's a bike. Doesn't matter if you crash it. Just take it out and do whatever you want. Because sharing is caring. That's just the way it is.
40-foot snowman shows up in our front yard, then
yeah,
that'll definitely happen.
That is probably true. That's his bike sitting right there.
Yep.
But now in the snow, I don't know because I didn't ride and race Autobahn this May. But
kudos to those who did.
See, no one in the chat was there in 2017 when we were at Autobahn.
Mm-mm.
But I would argue Autobahn 2017 was worse than Autobahn this year. Because yeah, it was cold and it was snowy this year, but it was torrentially raining.
Well, and you were just...
It was torrential rain the entire day.
Like it didn't.
It was like 40 to 50 mile an hour wind.
It was awful.
Well, I guess I should I don't know if anybody's fingers were black and blue after any of their races at Autobahn in April this year, but mine definitely were in 2017.
Well, Eric says don't race in the rain. Oh, there will not be a skeleton either in our front yard, Elliot. Definitely not. I was at Menards the other day. There will not be any of those.
Also, speaking of that, because it sounds like Autobahn's going to be officially off the schedule. Which,
in theory,
for those
yes.
of you guys, those racers among us, I I am on the whole like racer committee or thing or whatever for Azra, so I'm gonna be submitting some ideas and thoughts to them. There's like three or four people from the Midwest region. I know Sean Sternout's one, Germany's another one, which I think the joke was that way Germany doesn't miss pre-entry. So we'll submit like if we have thoughts on like rule changes or schedule changes, like no more BMWs allowed in lightweight or no more Autobahn on the schedule, like things like that.
No more snow.
No more
Eric
snow.
would really like to reiterate, don't race in the snow, it sucks.
No more racing, yep, no more racing in the snow. Things like that. No White Claw allowed in the paddock at any time.
If you're a white plate.
If you're a white plate, yeah.
That's just not allowed.
I know it has the word white in it, but no. No. Yeah. I guess I you'll have to ride a middleweight sometime. Tyson's bike sort of counts, and sort of doesn't.
I think we're caught up on comments.
Okay. Don't cross the line. Yeah. Also, side note, since I have some of you guys here, MotoGP 2024 is going to be pretty interesting. Oh yeah, they added more races to the schedule for next year, so I'm sure you're totally happy about that. But because Marquez is going to Ducati, that's what I was saying.
I knew that's what you were referring to.
And Fernandez gets to stay and ride for Tech 3.
Are they keeping the sprints? Because I'm all about those sprints.
Yeah, they'll keep the sprints for your short attention span.
Yep.
But I am bummed that they took Pitt off the schedule because Pittsburgh is a really fun track. So hopefully Pittsburgh stays on the Azure schedule because I need some redemption there. Eric needs some redemption there so he doesn't get, butt bumped by another bike again.
The question was, is Azra going to be okay under its new management?
I think so. I know there was some rumor that Azra might be looking like they might get rid of the Midwest region because we have the weakest and shortest schedule, but every time I've talked with Alex, even way back in May, his whole thing is he wants to get rid of Autobahn. And what I told him they should do is get rid of Autobahn, add Gingerman back in like August, make it a double points or a twin sprint round to get people to go. And it sounds like that's what they're going to do. One of the rumors I also heard though was 2 Gingermans next year and 2 Pittsburghs, which if that's the case, get rid of Brainerd. But I'd still probably.
I think it was 2 of everything.
Yeah, but I'd probably only go to one of the Pittsburghs. But it's also going to depend on the motorway schedule.
Right. Well.
Because I think it'd be fun to go out to Middo, but it'd be nice to get there beforehand. Maybe during like the vintage weekend that Weira does, for like the vintage days. I think in July, or a track day out there.
It's all rumor at this point. Nobody knows for sure what they're planning for next year's schedule.
Yeah, I don't know what Azra's schedule is going to be for sure next year. But yeah, that was the rumor I heard is Gingermans and 2 Gingermans, which is cool. Because I haven't been to Gingerman since 2018, I think, and I've never been there on. No. Because we went for that track day. All I can think of is that advice that Gerard got from that CR.
That was terrible.
And the creepy photographer guy. Anyways.
Side note.
Yeah, Gingerman should be there at least once. We'll have Blackhawks, obviously, and then I haven't heard anything about Road America. I heard BRL wanted Road America, and BRL, let's be real, has the money, but I don't know if there's room in the schedule for it. 2, last I heard, supposedly CCS or Azra still owes Road America money, but I'm going to call bullcrap on that because any of you that were there for the Motovid days in August and September saw how crappy the paddock was with everything that got left there. We've never had the paddock left like that. So the fact that Road America supposedly was telling us we owed them a bunch of money for fuel cans we left and all tires, I think is crap. And plus it costs The base rental fee for RA now is like $60K plus, and that's not including like, I don't think it includes like corner workers, or maybe it does, but I know like ambulance, I know is like separate, and paying for the PA separate, paying for the radio separate, so they're really nickeling and diming stuff.
Sorry, there's a question from Ike. For me,
that's a really good question, because she said she was going to learn. And I have the Zuma now, which would be even easier to learn, which you need to learn to do.
So,
especially for Motorway.
For those of you who do not know, I have absolutely no clue how to ride a motorcycle.
This isn't like chopsticks where you're like, I've seen him do it enough.
Yeah, it's not like chopsticks. My parents raised me to be terrified of motorcycles. For some various different reasons. So meeting Ryan.
As I'm staring at 3 motorcycles right now, and there's a couple missing in the garage right now.
So meeting Ryan, telling them that he owned a motorcycle, he wasn't even track riding at that point. And then it was, he rides motorcycles after we started dating, or he track rode after we started dating with the intention to race and eventually do this. I'm pretty sure I saw my mom cry the minute I got on the back of the Z.
It's because your mom's...
Anyways.
Was a warrior.
So, I did after Pat shattered his collarbone, basically. Well, broke his collarbone. I did say that I would learn how to ride the Z at least. But that was back
Pat.
in...
It was 2018, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been a few years since I agreed. I at least took the step to agree.
Yes, because that's
to
a step.
Learn. And it hasn't. So, Elliot says I can learn to ride on his bike.
Winter fitness and training program. So I want to kind of do a separate video about that, because I had a really interesting talk with Jeff May at Pitt, because he was our crew chief for Connell, and I talked with him a bunch, because I know who Jeff is. Like, I've followed him since like he started, like when I started watching AMA back in 05, 06, and my training program stays pretty much the same through the winter. I do focus a bit more on, I guess I'm going to say, bulking. Like, I'm still trying to get some of my strength back I've lost. And still trying to stay relatively lean. So winter, I guess, like a lot of people, winter's going to say is bulking season, but I still get out and do like steady cardio and try and keep cardiovascular fitness up. And I'm just going to say in general, working on strength and resistance training is big, but mixed with mobility. And part of the reason doing the resistance training stuff, and that's backed up partially off of what Jeff May had said, which kind of helped affirm that to me, is like, honestly, you kind of bounce better. And he said...
He was talking about runners.
He was talking about runners versus biking. And he said he worked with some doctor out in California for years, and when he, I guess, finally broke a bone in a crash, he said he only did it once. The ortho who saw him said he had like more bone density than like NFL players he'd worked with and pro athletes. And the training program that Jeff did was resistance training and running. And he said he highlighted the running part specifically because the impact of running helps build up your bone density, which I'm sure Ike will be happy to hear about, since I know he's running more now. But
he would like to know how to lose 45 pounds in 2 weeks.
The comparison is a lot of riders now bike, but they get injured pretty easily. And when Jeff said that, I was like, that kind of makes sense, because with biking it's very low impact. Running is obviously not in comparison, which at the time made me feel good because I've been running with a weight vest, so added bonus. But in general, I don't like to run long distance. I'm not a distance runner, partly because I get bored. But I'll do like sprints and stuff. Like I'll do like a 2-3 mile run. Like when I do it with the weight vest, I'll either do like run 1 mile and then walk a mile back, or vice versa, or I'll run for 2 minutes, walk for 1 minute, and just kind of do intervals, so to speak. But I'm not like full out sprinting with the vest on. but just mixing that with resistance training mostly, and then I have a day where I'll do a nice stretch session just to work on mobility and stuff, especially like with the hips and whatnot with riding position stuff. But honestly, and a lot of you guys probably know, like nothing really replicates riding the motorcycle. Who's trying to lose 45 pounds?
I would like to know how to lose 45 pounds in the next 2 weeks.
Just chop off your arm. I can't say leg, he has to run.
The next question is, when are you going to join the Supermoto Race Series?
Dude, I would love to join that Supermoto series if we live so close, but I don't have a Supermoto bike. So if you got one I can rent or borrow, I'd totally do it. Supermoto is on my list of motorcycles that I would like to own, which I'm going to do another video in the off season, because and some of you know I've asked this question, is like if you could have like 3 motorcycles, maybe we'll do 5, like basically what motorcycles would you own?
No, you got to keep it to 3. That's the
Keep it to
question
3?
we've been asking
Okay.
all season.
All right, we'll keep it at 3.
Limit their choices.
Yeah. So, yeah, dude, I would love to do the Supermoto series. I did a couple of the races when that series first started up on the Z, but the class, they don't have just the Z Grom class. So I was out there with like KX65s and bikes that are twice as fast. I mean, my Z has maybe 8 horsepower. Like there's lawnmowers with more horsepower than that thing. So, yeah, I would love to get like a 450 or something. But we're gonna focus on Moto America for right now. That's goal 1. If I hit the Powerball, and not even if I could have multiple motorcycles in the garage right now, like I'd have like off the top of my head, I'd have like my R6 obviously. I'd love to have an R1. I'd love to have a Supermoto bike, and then some sort of like long distance, like everyday travel, like bike, like. I guess we can keep with the Yamaha theme, like maybe like an XSR 900, like one of the new ones, or the MT10 SP, like the one I rode out in LA, like that'd be cool. And then the bonus to that is I would love to have like an X Moto 2 bike, but we'll save all that for when I do that 3 list video at some point. But yeah, I mean, dude, I'd love to do that Supermoto series. Part of it is I think a lot of times when they had the races though this year, I also was gone, either at like track day weekend or racing. But I want to come out and check it out because I love how much it's blown up, and the fact that it's 20 minutes from here, it seems silly not to. But I do not have a Supermoto bike.
What year R1?
What year R1? I mean, ideally 2020 plus, at least 2018 plus, because you can put 2020 body kits on them. But from what little I researched, guys were saying to get 2018 or newer, but I would say 2020 or newer. So basically same gen as my R6. Definitely not any Kawasaki Ninja 400s or ZX6s. I'm trying to stare into Elliot's soul right now and be like, but if I can get the stream working better, it'd be fun if I could like do like a dual screen chat with some people and just catch up with people in the off season. Maybe we'll have to start doing that if there's enough interest, since we can't ride, and I also don't have an ice bike. Yeah, because let me clarify. If I got a Supermoto bike, Streets, I would ideally love kind of like what Tony has, where it's you got your dirt set up, ice set up, Supermoto set up. Either that or just go south in the winter and ride. But I need to have a bike to do that. And I currently have the Zuma. I mean, I technically have the Daytona, but that's getting sold.
I mean, take Ellie's bike.
I could take Elliot's bike. But it very stable. Wait. Stream is.
See?
Is I doing like a
dry stable at the moment.
So if it's stable, then it should be good, right?
I don't know. Yes?
Cowies are just fine. You are right, Elliot. Cowies are just fine.
Not great,
but
just fine.
Like a Yamaha is more than that.
Don't get Tyson started.
I don't care about Tyson. There's nothing wrong with Cowies. I just wouldn't race one. At least not like a ZX6 or ZX10 I would maybe. But they're kind of outclassed now with the BMWs. It's odd to me though that the Yamahas aren't really present in Super Stock 1000 other than by Ben Smith. Well, Elliot, it sounds like I'm gonna have to get more of these stickers made. Which, Streeby, I don't know if you were here earlier, but my other plug was I've also created a website that I've got for my racing, so it's rhinoracing.com. And yeah, trying to look for some financial sponsors for next season for Moto America. So if you happen to know of anybody, or if you hit the Powerball this weekend and you want to sponsor me, you just let me know. But
I'd say he'd buy you R6 if he won the Powerball.
Well, that's good to know.
A used R6, I think he said.
But yeah, if you have any interest, the other thing I think I'm gonna do for this month is kind of a collab with is Elliot made me up these stickers, and really I feel like I'm just like showing Streeby because I don't think he was in here earlier, but I thought those looked pretty cool. So I'm gonna try and sell some of those. Maybe get some shirts and hats with that on it.
There was a question about
thoughts on Attack's illegal fuel. I think it's fine. Stamboli explained it all, and I listened to the podcast before that article came out, and I'm kind of annoyed that they said he failed. Because me personally, I feel like VP's just upset because Stamboli on the podcast called out that their fuel had changed from the year before to this year. And as he even said, like, fuels are they're gonna change a little bit. It's hard to keep the mixture like completely the same. And I think I heard something about like they've moved or changed plants where they were getting the fuel from, but like I think it's silly to say they failed because he's using MGP, using the same fuel. It was just in a barrel that he had earlier. So like everyone can only buy fuel that weekend and use that fuel. Like if you have fuel left over from one round to another, you're not allowed to use it anymore. Like it'd be the same thing like tires. Like, oh, well, I had the same compound and I have a brand new one that I didn't use at the last round and it's an allowed compound. Now I can't use it. Like it just seems weird to me. And they're changing the fuel for next year anyways because it's called MGPR. But the interesting thing about all that is I was curious, so I was looking it up. And with Moto America wanting to be more FIM aligned and kind of be more like the World Series, World Superbike doesn't have a spec fuel. They have a range of parameters, for the octane and everything that you have to live within. And I can send you the document if you want. It's got a list of, I think there were like close to 20 different brands on their list that you're allowed to run. Now I'm sure not everyone uses that whole list because I'm sure by now people figured out, okay, Elf has their fuels better than the VP or better than this brand, but there's a list of, I think it was close to 20 different brands, and they had multiple fuels that you're allowed to use in World Superbike. So I personally, if it were me, I wish Moto America would do an open tire rule. Mm-hmm. And now learning this, I wish they do an open fuel rule because it would force the manufacturers to compete, which to me, I think in theory could help bring the prices down. But the only series I know of that has an open tire rule still is Australian Superbike. BSB has Pirellis. I think IDM is a spec tire. Actually, no, they may not be. Either way, World Superbike obviously is a spec tire. I do also think it's weird that MotoGP, Moto3 and Moto2 are on one brand, and then MotoGP's on a different. You'd think they'd all be on the same brand. Because if the thought is to have riders learning and moving up, it would make sense to me to have them all on the same tire. And I feel like Moto E is probably on Michelin's as well, but it just seems odd to me. But if I was running Moto America, I mean, I would do a lot of things differently. A lot of things I like they do, a lot of things I don't like that they do. But I'll get into that probably in a different video. Yeah, I wish they could they do an open tire, because I think more people would try and you get more people off their racing if they did an open tire rule and if they did open fuel. Because to be honest, from everything I've read and what everyone has told me, like MGP is really just glorified pump gas, you know. Gotta go, huh? I'm gonna guess Ike's gonna go nap so that he can be ready for D&D later.
He said he's gonna go eat.
Yeah, and then he's gonna go rest up for D&D. Brandon, I appreciate the comment on the stickers. Like I said, I'm gonna get those up on the site and Streeby out. I appreciate the thought as well. You guys can thank Elliot. He did a nice job taking my chicken scratch on a post-it note and turning it into a logo or a design, we'll say. So, well, I think that's going to be it for now. Like you said, I'll do a more formal video and put that out on the actual channel page later. But I thought this would be fun to do. I guess comment if you guys, maybe I could start doing this every Friday, do a short video and just do kind of a chat thing. If you guys are interested, it's been fun to just kind of talk with people and helps keep the excitement from the race weekend, or maybe after, like on a Monday or something after a MotoGP race, since they've still got some rounds left. So I guess just throw me a comment if you think I should start doing some random live videos like on a regular basis. And if I get enough interest, I will. Just let me know. And like I said, I appreciate all the support. Again, if you know of anybody who's looking for or might be interested in sponsoring a team for Moto America for next season, let me know. Like I said, I've got a whole nice sponsor deck written up, lots of different options depending on the budget, and I'd love to just support any local businesses or anybody that you know or any friends. I think it'd be really cool. And yeah, I'm gonna work on getting these out on the site and getting things updated. And yeah, check out the site. I haven't officially launched it. This is kind of the first announcement of it, but it's rhinoracing.com, RYHNO, all one word, and we'll get things going. But yeah, maybe we'll start doing this on a regular basis. I think it'd be fun. All right, you guys enjoy the weekend. I can't remember if yeah, no MotoGP this weekend, no racing. World Superbike next weekend, so I guess just have fun without any racing this weekend. So I appreciate you guys checking it out. I appreciate all the support. We'll check you guys soon. Thanks.